Hello, welcome once again to Cityscope. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson. Cityscope is a show that really focuses on what cities can do around the state and how that can be replicated around the state. All the wonderful things cities are doing around the state of West Virginia. In Charleston, West Virginia, we have so many great things happening and we have so many great facilities. One of those facilities is the Charleston Coliseum and Convention Center. In 2019, we saw some amazing renovations to the center. And since that time, we've had some amazing programming. And that's really what we're going to focus on today is the programming and the facility that we're using, that's used every day in Charleston, and some beautiful things have happened there in that beautiful new space. And with us today is Veronica Ratcliffe to talk about some of those things. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Did I have that right? 2019, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the renovations, it was an amazing transformation of that space. We all grew up with the Coliseum and Convention Center, which we called the Civic Center. And then they put a lot of effort and resources into that center to make it it's a beautiful space. It
is actually, Jeff. You are correct, and it did. The grand opening was, I believe, in actually October of 2018. Yeah. They did the grand opening, and then really opened the facility in 2019. The majority of the renovation of the facility, though, was on the convention center side, right, and was not on the Coliseum side. There were a few things that they added the Terrace Club on the Coliseum side, and then I believe they added a few bathrooms on the Coliseum side that were much needed for big shows. Right. And the box office, of course, that beautiful space across from the town center. But the majority of the renovation was on the convention center side, increasing the ballroom space, building ballroom space and meeting space, which we are utilizing every day, as you know, when you were there yesterday doing some B-roll taping. There's lots going on.
Yeah, it's the space, when I first came in public art director in 2017, and we'll talk about this, we'll get to it, I'm kind of alluding to some things first. We kind of looked at the overall look at the space, and then city manager David Mulgard, it was kind of his baby, and he was really invested in the look of the space and the theme of the space. And it's the leadership now, our administration, Amy Goodwin, they've really pushed the programming side and said, here's this amazing space, let's use it.
Correct.
Just to keep it in the simplest form. But let's rewind a little bit before we fast forward. Sure. Let's get into all that, but let's first talk about, I want to talk a little bit about you and your path to getting to the Coliseum and Convention Center. So my first question is always usually, what was your first impression of Charleston when you first came here?
Oh, actually.
It doesn't have to be the Coliseum, obviously.
Well, I fell in love with West Virginia when I first moved here. I relocated out of Pennsylvania in 2011 to Huntington, but would drive by every day Charleston on my way to my parents' house when I would go back home to visit, and just fell in love with the city, the bridge, the interstate, the way it intersects. It was just gorgeous. And then as you all started to develop the what is now the Coliseum and Convention Center, and it just every time I would drive by, there was more and more and more in glass, and it was just gorgeous. So I fell in love with country roads and my husband. So I must admit that I fell in love with West Virginia for two reasons: country roads and the man in my life.
That's we asked, like I said, we ask that question on every episode. Your first impression of West Virginia, and then we talk about your people that are not from here. How did they get here? And more often than not, it's a husband or a wife. Yes. So that is common answer. So that's okay. But your background in sales and marketing, how did you first get into that?
Well, I first started in marketing in healthcare. I was in a hospital, and then also spent a few years in long-term care marketing. Transitioned out of that into live entertainment.
That's a switch.
I know.
It's a switch.
you know, opportunities come, right, and you look at it and you go, oh, that would be interesting. And it's my niche. I love it. I'm a person who likes to do multiple things all the time. I don't like to do one thing every day. And with this job, I do nothing alike. There is nothing I do on a daily basis that is the same. So my ADD, I guess you could say, as an adult, thrives in live event marketing. On the sales side, sort of came as transitions and folks leave, and you take on more responsibilities in different organizations. And so the selling of the space and that sort of in corporate partnerships sort of just evolved out of the marketing side.
And you came to Huntington first and was at they call it Convention Center or Civic Center? What is it now?
Actually, it is now the Mountain Health Arena
That's right.
and Convention Center. Yes, started there with a company at the time called SMG, which is a management company. SMG had the management company there. Worked with a very wonderful first GM, Brian Sipe, there in Huntington. I still live in Huntington. I travel every day, which I will tell you is a nightmare at times, but it is a beautiful travel at the same time. I decompress on my way home some days, depending on traffic.
Right.
But by the time I get home, I'm ready to enjoy the evening. Yeah, started in Huntington, small arena, left Huntington to pursue a bigger arena, interviewed with OVG, which is the current management company here at the Charleston Coliseum, and went to Rupp Arena in Lexington. And so I was in Lexington, traveled, did the commuting type thing, stayed there during the week, came home on the weekends, marketed Rupp Arenas, all their live entertainment. So I was not actually doing convention center space or anything of that nature there. I was strictly live entertainment marketing for Rupp Arena. And then brings us to COVID, when the world shut down, everything shut down. And that's when the City of Charleston was putting out the management bid for someone to book and market the Charleston Coliseum, but then turned into a full management deal. So here comes Veronica back to Charleston. I worked for OVG 360. They got the management contract, and that's how I landed here in Charleston.
And it's, I'll probably say this a couple times during the interview. It's amazing, and no disrespect to the previous management, but the programming has really evolved, we'll say, and changed with this new management. And it's we've had a lot of positive feedback in the city of Charleston. And the one thing we should mention, and we'll probably jump around quite a bit, is that the Coliseum and Convention Center, especially the live events, is not for the city of Charleston. So maybe touch on that a little bit. What is your audience?
Oh, our audience, it just varies. Our audience can be anything from a toddler the whole way up to a 99-year-old, 100-year-old may come to a show. You never know. My audience, our main focus being a Coliseum and Convention Center is, and probably if you've ever had the Convention and Visitors Bureau here, Tim Brady, Tim will tell you heads in beds. That's what our goal is, heads in beds. So our goal is to bring folks into the city from all over to stay in our hotels, eat in our restaurants, shop in our local boutiques and stores, and come see a show.
And experience public art.
Correct. Yes. And
I always try to make that, I have to put that in every show, so it's like a requirement for me. So I fulfilled the requirement. We can move on now.
Is that,
no,
is that the only way they'll let you host the show?
No. So, well, one thing we will talk about is the amazing public art in the center. And this, again, the beauty, the elegance, and the quality of the center and the technology of the center. There are so many things to talk about the facility. Before we get to the facility, I want to keep on the subject of live music and what an animal that can be, booking, marketing. And the person we've shared over the past couple of days, we've shared all these stories about talents and personalities of live music and people that perform live music and all these crazy stories. What are some of the things that you've found interesting or entertaining about this process?
Well, one of the things that I know most people have in their mind is that you read a writer and artists want certain things and that they'll only accept certain things. That is true half in the fact. That all started, though, you'll find a story if you talk to Patrick more and more. He's been in the industry for a very long time. And he comes with great stories as well. But one of the things about the riders is, and you probably know this with your past, is the riders is to make sure that you read them.
Right.
You don't want to walk into a venue if you're the artist and they haven't read the actual production and how to put their show together. So those little idiosyncrasies of all green M&Ms or only Fiji water or what have you is all based on, did you read the rider? My theory on rock stars is that they're just like you and I. They have to put their pants on one leg at a time. They just get help, and I don't in the morning.
Exactly. Well, I mean, speaking of rock stars, the Coliseum and the Convention Center, back when it was a civic center, when it first opened, well, not first opened, but the we were walking through yesterday, and there's the space that is now used for the home show and things like that. Was where they had performances. And my grandmother, who had just passed, who's 94, speaking of older folks that are enjoying, but back when she was younger, she and my parents went to Elvis at the Coliseum. And a lot of people, everybody has their own memories of experiences there. Like when the new Coliseum opened, Queen was the first concert. And if you think about it, people, we were just talking about it before we went on air, there's bands that you wouldn't even believe even played Charleston, and they played in this building, and this building has so much history. And again, everybody from Charleston or even not from Charleston have their memories of what they went to when they were a kid there. And just walking through yesterday, I had so many vivid memories of all the experiences I've had in that building, and some of my fondest memories of Charleston were in that building.
Well, we talked a little bit about that yesterday, as you said, when we were walking through, and you're correct. Music creates memories that last a lifetime. You share with the artist that's on the stage, who's sharing with you through their songwriting and their ability to play the instrument or to sing. As you're listening to it with your loved one or your family, or you're experiencing the magic of Disney on Ice for the first time. My favorite part of my job, to be very honest with you, Jeff, is not what's going on the stage in front of me. It's looking up into the rafters, up into the upper deck and the lower bowl, and watching all the smiles. I can sit and be mesmerized for hours just watching people have a great time. And to be real honest with you, I may see one song of the entire show. But to me, it's, are you having a good time in our venue, and are we helping you create a memory that you're going to talk about on air, or you're going to talk about 10 years from now, or maybe 20 years from now when your daughter is 12. We were just talking about T-shirts and Sublime, and you made her listen to the Sublime record, which is kind of funny. But it's all about creating a memory on that side of the business. On the convention center side of the business, it's about making sure that we are welcoming folks to our city, that we have the technology that they need, that we have the hospitality that they need, that when they're here, everything goes as planned, and the vendors that they're bringing in for a big trade show, like we just got out of Expo, which brings in all manufacturing from probably 5 different states I saw in the exhibit halls last week, and the Coliseum, because they use the Coliseum for some of the bigger things as well. Just making sure that those folks have a great time in the city, and that they know where to go to eat dinner, where to see the public art at, maybe take in a show at the Clay Center, or to come over here to the Cultural Center. It's gorgeous. That's part of my job as marketing, is not only marketing the venue, but marketing the city as well. So I guess I have a big task at hand. I have big shoes to fill too on a daily basis, because you're awesome, and so is Tina from the city marketing, and Lauren from the CVB. We all work really, really well together, and it's a team effort here, without a doubt. And
one thing that's interesting, and we're going to jump all over the place, I'm sure. But one thing that's interesting to me is, like, when you have a big show, whether that's there or even the Clay Center, we notice in Charleston, you notice, wait, there's more people here today. Having a small town atmosphere, even though we're the largest town in this state, you still feel it when somebody's in town. Like, I'm not going to get his name right, Morgan Wallen. And I remember saying to my wife, what's happening? Like, there was so many people in Charleston that day, and it's right, they are downtown. They're on Capitol Street, they're going to Taylor Books, and then some people stay and they go to the Clay Center, they come to the Culture Center. And so it's like you said, the CVB and what you guys do is not just insular. We're in this together and bringing people to our city, and it works. It works well.
I agree with you, and you're right. Regardless of what is happening in the venue, we have been hearing. I mean, we are programming more. We have we are very. Patrick and I are, and the entire team at the Coliseum and Convention Center are all about bringing diverse programming, and between the Coliseum events, the Municipal Auditorium, the theater, and the Convention Center, we're hopping on any given weekend. In 2022, we had 292 events. Now that's just events. That's not multiple day events. That's
Right.
just the number of events that were in the facility. Most of them are multi-day events. We have your one-off meetings, but the
Right,
majority
right.
are your one-off concert. But the majority of those 292 events are multi-day events. So things like Expo, the West Virginia Home Show that's coming up this weekend, the Contractors Expo, the Auto Show. You're looking at multiple days of bringing folks in from all over the place. The Auto Show brings folks in from all over the country.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we look at, and again, diverse programming. We want to try to get something for everybody. We know we're not going to please everyone. I personally, as a live event marketer, will tell you that I don't look at your comments on Facebook because they would make me go to a corner, hide, and never come out.
Yeah, I get that. Everybody has an opinion, especially
Yes.
when it comes to art, performing
Yes.
or otherwise. And one thing I will note as we're talking, there's some photos playing on the screen, and people are seeing maybe when we were there yesterday, we were filming some things and looking at it was an empty space, and very rarely is it empty.
Correct.
It was nice for us because we could shoot some photos and things, but the place, like you said, 292 events in 2022. That's incredible.
370,000 visitors to the facility. Wow. That's
Yeah.
what we could count.
Right, well, yeah, of course. And going back, I want to make sure that I say this too. When I was younger, I remember all my memories, but it's also like seeing. You mentioned my daughter, like seeing her face. When I was telling you a story yesterday. I won't go into it today, but like when she was 3 years old, she went and saw Elton John. She was obsessed with Elton John, but to see her face, I found myself watching her more than Elton John because of that energy and that enjoyment of this person who. This is her first experience. Her first concert ever was Elton John. It's been hard to live up to that, but it was in those seats and watching her, and even obviously Disney on Ice. But that was an experience that I'll never forget, and it reminds me of my memories of a child and creating those for my own kids and kid. What we do for our next generation.
I 100% agree with you, and not only that, the next generation, but the older generation as well. When we came out of the pandemic, our first show was James Taylor.
Right.
And the average age of audience was much older than you and I, Jeff, believe it or not. But it was great. I looked around the Coliseum, which was sold out. Right out of the pandemic coming, we had no clue what to expect. We were hoping everyone would show up, and they did. And they were all singing. They all knew the words.
Yeah.
Every word they knew of every song. And I looked around and just the smiles and, the couples that were there that were holding hands because maybe that was, one of the songs was what they danced to for their marriage.
Yeah.
There's so many things that music connects us to and live performances connect us to that, again, I have a privilege every day to show up and work here and to be able to create those memories for folks. And I hope my goal is to create a memory for everyone. I know I might not be able to do that, but my hope is that everyone that walks through those doors has a great experience and walks away with a memory that they can talk about for years to come.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's such a cool thing. And one thing that is very interesting to me, but the pandemic actually brought an audience to your center that you would have never anticipated. I will mention again my grandmothers, both 94 years old, came the same day, same time to get their vaccines.
Yep.
And I had so many people reach out to me because the way they had to bring people through. They had this kind of natural tour of the public art inside the center. I was getting all these comments. And my grandmothers would normally not be able to or go to the Coliseum, and here they are getting to experience this brand new facility in kind of a weird way, a weird situation, but here they were. And so many people, literally thousands of people, went through that center.
You are correct on that. Yeah. And actually, it's really funny that you bring that up because Patrick and I, the general manager of the facility, which our folks are going to get to meet here later, we taped with him yesterday. we actually had that conversation in our offices during the pandemic and during the vaccinations, that there were folks who were coming that had not been to the facility in decades.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they were coming to get their shot because that's where they could get their shot. And then they saw this brand new facility. And I can't tell you how many times we were downstairs and folks were saying to us, we'll be back. We'll be back under different circumstances. We'll be back. We'll be back. And so we are so excited to have everybody back.
It was an unfortunate situation, but it did bring a lot of people into the facility, and we had a lot. The city, we received so many comments on folks that normally wouldn't have been there that came to the center.
And not only that, it gave us great press.
Yeah.
You know, there were multiple articles in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, that were showcasing the good that was happening in West Virginia and the beautiful facility that it was happening in. That this facility, which again, you know, part of our mission is to be there for the city or the area, the state when we need to. That's what we're here for as well.
And you guys showed up big.
Yes,
it really did. And the facility. Again, we're going to see on they've probably been showing us. We've been talking some of the walkthroughs and the beautiful facility. You've been here now for a little bit. What has been like your fondest memory of working here in Charleston with this facility and the experiences that you've had?
Oh my.
It's hard to get one, isn't it?
That's a loaded question. Wow. I don't know if I'm prepared for that one. Everything.
Right.
I absolutely love everything I do. I love the city. I enjoy everyone that I've come into contact with. I think it's kind of neat because we are the state capital.
Right.
So, you know, when we do I guess I could say when we do the state championships, whether they be volleyball, basketball, and you see all these kids who are playing on the state level, you know, and they're playing on the state court. It's really fun to see and watch because you go back to your high school days. I played high school volleyball. My senior year, we went to the state. We went to states in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So I get it, and that's fun for me. Show-wise, I'm going to tell you, I believe that probably my favorite was Reba. Reba was amazing. She was so gracious. We actually had the opportunity, myself and Patrick and Mayor Goodwin, to go back and greet her and welcome her to Charleston, West Virginia. We worked with a great partner of ours, Food Among the Flowers, and they provided a bouquet of roses for her, and she absolutely loved them. She wrote us a personal thank you note. Actually, we've gotten 3 thank you notes from Reba. That's how gracious she is. So I'm going to tell you, Reba was just fantastic. I don't think I can have a better memory of working a show than a Reba show. And convention center wise, everything there is just gorgeous. That atrium, every time I walk in there, you know, my breath is taken away.
Well, and we're on the screen now. We're seeing that. Well, we're seeing it as you're saying it. I didn't know you realized you saw that on there or not. But this space, again, people will see this before a show, or this is kind of the middle space between the Coliseum and the convention center. Well, what we're going to do now, let's go to. We mentioned Patrick several times. What we want to do is go and see some of his not interviews, but his take on the facility. So we're going to take a look at those videos now from Patrick Leahy and some of the other parts of the facility.
So the theater here at the Charleston Coliseum and Convention Center is a separate facility attached to the convention center. Great room, 770 seats. We installed a new line array system, so state-of-the-art sound system in the room. It's great for bringing in comedy acts, comedy troupes. Clearly, it works well for our local community, Charleston Light Opera Guild, the Charleston Ballet, Children's Theater use the same facility. So we're giving it many more uses per year by bringing in national activity. We've sold out 5 shows now, working on the 6th. So we're really excited about what this theater brings to the marketplace in terms of filling a void for a different kind of entertainment that you can't get in the Coliseum, not going to get in the municipal auditorium in terms of the stature of the artist, the size of the artist, and the crowds that they draw. So the Parlor Club is a premium club experience, ticket, lounge, show. And it's all about access. So we have dedicated Parlor Club entrance. So as a customer guest, you come in through this entry, and then just steps up is the entrance into the Parlor Club hallway. And the hallway is regularly used for other convention traffic, but when you get to the entrance to the Parlor Club, you understand that there's a point of arrival. And as we go in, you'll see we've converted the space, and you'll see in the distance the arena location. And while it's in conversion process right now for another event, we utilize this space here as a point of entry, point of arrival. We'll check the customer in, and they come around into what was historical back-of-house space, and we created the Parlor Club. The Parlor Club is just based off the original name of the rooms. They were parlor lounge rooms for meetings. We've created, hopefully, an environment space. We'll have a bar set up, food service, lounge, works as a really great pre-show experience. Hang out, you're in. We're steps from the arena floor in the Coliseum to be able to get to the seats. And this space is deep enough, wide enough, holds about 160 to 65 people. And some of that depends on how much inventory we get for the show. It extends back. We have a little fan selfie location that works out pretty well. It's just a great location, great vibe, great setup. So when artists arrive, they come from the back dock. They work their way up this pathway. We call it the artist hallway. As you can see, proximity to the stage will be right through that door. And as they come through here, we have a series of dressing rooms, 4 artist rooms, large team rooms. So the multi-purpose need for the Coliseum is to host sporting events, sporting teams, multiple sporting teams at one time, which is a little unusual for a building of this age to have the flexibility it does, but it's fantastic for us. Some other rooms we can use as production office. One of the things we try to do here is help artists understand where they are. When you live on a bus or a tour and you're a different place every other day, every day, you start to lose sense of where you're at. And one of the things we wanted to do is highlight the fact that, Charleston, West Virginia, we're a great concert market town. We're a lively arts and entertainment marketplace. And certainly this art piece helps us illustrate that you're in a place that wants to be vibrant, fun, colorful, and then too, it just helps give them a memory of where they played. And so if their experience really good here, which we always strive to achieve, then they remember exactly their experience in Charleston, West Virginia, which helps us bring them back and helps us bring other artists in, managed by some of the same artist management companies.
And that's all we have time for today. Thank you, Veronica, for coming in, and thank you for watching Cityscope. And go check out the Coliseum and Convention Center here in Charleston, West Virginia.